Hey everyone, Mac is back, and today I want to talk about a report that I had from this most recent Kingdom versus Kingdom. I just recently had Layla at 4 stars, and it's been talked about quite a bit how powerful she can be or is at 4 stars, and I wanted to test that out. Plus I wanted to test out to see how, taking a hit from someone who was more powerful than me, whether it was either they countered me or I countered them or vice versa, whatever it may be. I just wanted to kind of go over that and to see what the report was like. I didn't plan on it being exactly the way that it was. We rarely kind of do when it comes to fighting, because there's always different aspects of the fighting in itself that you can't control. So, but this one, I just want to go into it briefly and see. Hopefully, I can glean something from it, and you can as well. So let's get to it. So here's the report, and as you can see from right off the top, I lost almost 32 million compared to about 11.5 million, and that obviously looks terrible, quite terrible on my part. I basically, to kind of a backstory of this, you can see that I was in King's Landing all by myself. I had a 50% buff on, which gave me almost 1.1 million troops, and I went with my regular march. This is kind of what I've been doing lately. I put a infantry front line, I go infantry spear, but I use all 3 troop types. I use these commanders here. I finally got Layla. It's the first time I used her. Before I was using Seg, so it was actually a really good replacement to have Layla in there with her her ability, and plus she does give some total attack as well, so I wasn't losing a whole lot. If it would have been a Cav March, her front line would have been a lot better, but I would have had a lot better buff on my front line, but I have used infantry, so it didn't really do that. And then as I was sitting in King's Landing, I got scouted by one of the REA's alliance, their smaller one of their scout castles, so I knew the hit was coming. And I was actually watching it relatively closely. I walked away from my computer for, it must have been 2 seconds, and I saw the death sign on the bottom right hand corner of your screen that you always see when you're getting attacked. And I attempted to get out of there in time, but obviously it wasn't fast enough, and this was the result. So this player here is over 1 billion power, so very, very good, and merit 453 million. Merit, which is also quite significantly high. So they're a good player. They're a really good player. So they got the report, or they got the scout report, which showed my commanders and the troops that I had in there, which made it clear that I was, that I had an infantry front. Obviously, it doesn't matter too much what the second line is going to be. I mean, you can see here I've had a pretty even split about my 3 troop types. So they just basically wanted to counter the infantry front, so they put their own infantry front with their, it's just an infantry spear, but obviously there are no spears, so then they put Cav as their second, and this was the result, which was so that's basically a pure counter to my, an imp Cav to an imp spear is a pure counter. So they lost 191,000, I lost 434,000, but they filled up my hospital, and only a little bit in their hospital. Now looking at the actual deaths themselves, pretty bad on my part. As you can see, I lost it's about 260 some thousand tier 4. That's terrible, and then almost the same amount wounded, and then obviously the tier 3s as well. Actually, no, I'm sorry, more than that. I forgot about the extra 100,000 here. So now we're looking at about 350,000 tier 4. That's bad. It's really bad. You don't want that to happen. And then talking about them, you can see that they only lost 70,000 tier 4 with their buff in front. So they won out on this quite significantly. And just a little side note, as you can see, the cold coming in from the sides, well, basically that means something is going to happen here soon in the game. But when you're inactive on your one screen, that starts to creep in. But let's get into the battle record. So here is the battle record, and I want to go through this battle second by second, but I'm going to go very quickly. It's 40 seconds long, so I'm not going to do a lot of explanation for each one because it's kind of understood for quite a bit of it. But so we started the first second here, and as you can see, this is where the dragon skills are. So my reinforcement came in, gave me some extra troops. My reroute gave me took away some troops from them, and then his reroute came in and took some troops away from me. and then Seg's 4-star ability came in and added some attack, defense, and health. So then we move on to 3 seconds, and you can see not much is going on there, just some attacking with each other, some small damage being done. And as you can see in the next one, the battle results were I lost about 40,000 to 18,000, so I'm losing more troops here right from the beginning. And there's no commanders going off with their abilities quite yet, of course. You know, I talked about that in another video, how that happens. To 5 seconds, still nothing. 6 seconds, we're still just doing some damage. And I'm clearly losing a lot more here because of that counter that's happening with the cav running into my my infantry front line. And as you can see, again, same type of thing here as we get down to 8 seconds. Same thing. I'm still losing more troops, which is not good, obviously. And this is where one of the first abilities comes in from Chris, who has triggered his Soul Awakening skill, and the enemy infantry defense is plus 3%. So again, that's why Chris's ability is not that great, because it's a 3% defense buff. So in 9 seconds, still nothing, but I'm still losing more troops. And then here at 10 seconds, I'm losing nothing, and he's losing a little bit. And I'm not sure why or how that actually happens. Maybe it's a delay from this infantry. But yeah, so it's my spearmen into his infantry, so doing almost no damage whatsoever. But where this, obviously the 11 seconds is where it gets interesting. So his Seg targeted my infantry line, I lost 5,300. His Chris targeted my infantry line, I lost 5,300. For myself now, this is where Arya's 4-star ability comes in. She puts one of those death markers down and then increases skill damage by 20%. And then she does her damage, so that's 3,300, which is 20% more. Then Layla, who is a cav commander, goes into their infantry and does 5,500 damage, which is obviously more than you know, the counter there, which is what you want. So no other ability went off right here. The Seg's ability was dissipated at that point. 12 seconds. I'm still losing more, but not as much as actually what was I losing before up there? I thought I was losing maybe like so it was 30,000, yeah, 36,000. So maybe that's what the Seg's ability was adding on to that one. Because you can see here 42,000 is what I lost here, which was not good compared to 22 when the abilities went off. So the next one's 31,000 to 16. Chris giving another more defense there, no big deal. 13 seconds, then that's when my dragon attacked and did some more damage. So you can see that it increased it by a little bit. I'm still losing 32,000, and as you can see here, it's quite significant still. You know, I'm going way down. I'm losing a lot more troops clearly if this keeps going on forever. And then we go to 14 seconds, and at 14 seconds, this is when 3 of his troops get their abilities off. So Andrea, Julian, and Latz all attack. And so Julian's getting countered, so it's less. Andrea and Latz are both no counter or at all, so it's just staying the same, and it's a mediocre damage. And then the same thing here for Annie. Annie is attacking, but getting countered, and Julian's attacking for me, getting countered. Latz is even, so he does a little bit more damage. You can see it's almost twice as much as the counters happening there. Nothing too crazy there as well that's going on. 15 seconds. So 15 seconds. Now we're down to like 10,000, and so it's a lot less at this point. So we got spear going into the infantry, spear into infantry, and that's the reason. It's the counter that's happening. Chris, another one of his defense goes off. 16 seconds, not a whole lot going on. And then back, obviously we're increasing it back again for 17 seconds. The damage is even more. Going down further, still the same. 17. 19 seconds, not a whole lot going on in 19 seconds. Well, you can see here the dragon attacked row A1, and then you can see was annihilated. So my A1, 3, 2, and 5 all were gone. So I lost all those infantry in that front line. So obviously not very good. But now we're moving into the second line, which is going to be my spear, and you can see now his cavalry are going into my cavalry are going into his infantry. So I'm starting to do more damage to him now, just in this, at least in this 20 second. Chris again throwing another 3% defense, not significant whatsoever. And then 21 seconds is where it gets interesting. You can see here, this is where I did I lost 56,000 compared to 34,000. This is where, okay, so Seg now is going into my spear, so he's countering and doing 16,000. Chris is going in there and countering, doing 16,000. Arya is doing a 40% more. She got another marker on there. So now she's doing 40% more, which still is against infantry, so it's not very good. Layla is doing more damage there, but then she gets that skill off that we talked about before, which is really good. So it says here that, you know, the Soul Awakening, and is about to Layla is about to use an army skill again. So you can see down here she procced that twice. So there's another 10,000 damage that she did to the infantry, and she counters that infantry. So that's a really good too, because most people use an infantry frontline, and in that regard, it gives Layla actually more damage if she procs herself. So she did 10,000 damage there. And plus this 5 up here, so actually 15,000 in this 21-second mark, which is really, really good. But I still lost massively just because this guy's so much more powerful than I am. And I'm obviously now I'm down to almost half the troops basically of what he has. And then the next one is starting to get even, you know, it'll start to get worse and worse and worse. Chris, 33% defense is not very much. Again, we're still losing. Now this is really bad here. As you can see that I only did 1,800. The farther you get in battle, you can see it's just getting worse and worse and worse. We're actually going to skip here, I think. 26 seconds, not a whole lot. I don't want this to go on forever. 73, so now I'm getting really smashed. Well, there you go, 27 seconds. Yes, it's because his guys got, you know, his commanders got their off. So Andrea countering spear, Julian countering spear, or I'm sorry, even with spear, Lad's countering spear. So yeah, these commanders are doing a lot of damage just by the counter of themselves. And then of course, now at this point, my Annie and Julian and Lads are not doing much damage. You know, they're being Annie and Julian being countered, Lads are not being countered, but not, you know, countered yourself. So not a whole lot going on there. And then of course I'm losing my lines again. And then here, the 28-second mark, his dragon did some damage to me, and you know, a little bit there. And then now we're, you know, so Chris doing his Soul Awakening, nothing but there at 30 seconds. We don't see a whole lot until the bottom here. So then Seg targeted column 1, of course, this is his, and ran into my cavalry at that point, so that was good. Arya got her 60% off, so now she's running her infantry into, looks like still infantry, so nothing really happened there. And then Layla did her extra damage against the infantry as well. No, didn't proc her ability there though. I mean, obviously there still is that chance to do it, but it didn't. This attack triggered a crit, which is dealing enemy row 106%. So now I got a crit damage there, which is something interesting too. So this is that new, well, I say new ability, but it's coming from the dragon that's powered, and it's been awakened. So that's something to consider as well. And now I'm losing everything, and he's losing nothing. So I don't have a whole lot left going for me here when you only have 227,000 left. Again, Chris doing his thing, and then his Chris goes off and it procs as well. 35 seconds. Nothing going on there. 36. I'm surprised it actually made it to the entire way through this, because I'm getting just annihilated right now. Okay, so then his dragon went off and did 5,700 damage, and then finally, there you go. So now my Lats has left the battle because that whole line has been destroyed. 38 seconds, not much. 39 seconds. Is it down at the bottom? Yeah, here it is. So here is another the 39-second mark. So Andrea is attacking Cav, so I countered that. Julian is countering the Cav, massive damage. Lat, same thing. Annie going into infantry is being countered, but then the skill triggered Layla's Soul Awakening, so then Annie gets procced because of that big ability. Then Julian did it, but there's only 1 second left, and there you go. Annie did it twice, so now she had 2 more damage. So there is a lot of damage to be had when it comes to Layla. How many times this? I mean, it procced only twice in this battle, which is actually kind of low. So I mean, and that's an extra 4 attacks you're getting from your commanders. Now you can see here I'm getting countered here, so it's not. This is the least amount of damage you could possibly do. And the other one was 10,000 damage. So this is your minimum you're going to do is about 12,000 damage if you have about 1 million troops, and you can obviously last, and it'll vary, of course, throughout the battle. But I think this is just something to be learned. And as you can see down here, even as the further you go down, because she's 4-star, she got another attack off as well, just like Seg did for the other guy. So just something to consider as well. I find this as a you know, a loss for me, but also learning experience. You know, my thought is that, you know, maybe instead of going as a spear infantry, go to a spear cav formation. However, I'm not sure if that's the right case, because he did appear, you know, counter to me anyway, so it really doesn't matter if I would have had infantry cav anyway. I may have just, you know, done a little more damage and had a little bit less to myself. So anyway, I hope this helps everybody. And as you can see down here a little bit too, the casualty rate here for my dragon ability actually increases 6%, so more of his troops have died instead of going to the hospital. So yeah, I hope this helped everybody out, and until next time, Mac out.